This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast. On today's episode, Kailey Brodhacker and Mark James, fresh off of Tougher Mudder, New Orleans. Kailey got third place overall for the women, and Mark James, after he ran Tougher Mudder, did a write-up for his new blog, toughmuddersphere.blogspot.com. You can check that out there. That's one of the only write-ups I've actually seen about the first Tougher Mudder. Before we get into the episode, I want to say about the schedule for this week. The end of this week is the very first toughest mudder in Los Angeles. So as we're going up to that first toughest mudder, there's still a lot more information, and I only have one day a week to do an episode, right? No, actually, we can do whatever we want because it's a podcast. So tomorrow we're going to have more information from Eli and Nolan, courtesy of Matt B. Davis. I was able to sit down with him and talk about an episode of his podcast that he had Eli and Nolan on last week. And then I also got a chance to sit down with Wesley Kerr and talk about the toughest mudder course, the elevation, the differences in the two loops, the 12 to 4 a.m. loop and the 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. loop, and then obstacles, different strategies for the obstacles, and a ton of other information, nutrition stuff, wetsuit stuff. Wesley's not planning on wearing a wetsuit, which is kind of crazy, and that'll be on Thursday. We talked to Wesley Kerr. And then I'm running this weekend, Tougher, Toughest, and then Tough on Sunday. But in between those races, if I'm not taking a nap, I'll have a microphone or my phone talking to members of the community or whoever else I can talk to about the events, and then we'll put those out. That'll be out next Tuesday, a week from today. I wasn't planning on running Tougher until later in the year, but Carlo Piscatello actually, he didn't talk me into it, but after talking to him, I was like, well, you know what, might as well. I mean, why not? You never know what happens. You could get hurt between now and November, and you're like, oh, I wish I had ran it back in March. So, speaking of Carlo Piscatello, Piss and Cox kicked off their third season of shenanigans on YouTube. So, go to YouTube, look for Piss and Cox, 1S, PIS-N-COX to find that new episode. They gave me a nice little shout out. Very kind. Josh, we'll get you on the podcast soon. Oh, and hey, you two guys, we need to meet up this weekend. I've got a present for you for your next episode. It's not as good as the present Carlo. Never mind. The top three finishers, men and women, at the Tougher Mudder in New Orleans. Matthew Kempson was first for the men at 1:34.06. Eddie Henry was second at an hour 41 and 24 seconds. Brandon Eddards was third at 1:42 and 15 seconds. For the women, Theresa Edwards was first at 1:41 and 19 seconds. She was actually the second overall finisher. The second place woman was Nikki Perry at 2:28 even. And third place was Kailey Brodhacker at 2:34.43. And again, we're going to talk to Kailey in just a couple minutes. A few statistics for you. I don't know how many people started the event, but it was a full wave. So there were 73 finishers that finished with their bands. The last guy across the finish line took 4 hours and 50 minutes and 36 seconds. So if you're not a super high performer guy, I wouldn't sweat it, man. Just sign up for a Tougher Mudder and get the new headband and, have some fun while you're doing it. There were a few things people talked about on the World's Toughest Mudder community page that were like concerns or like, oh no, what's Tough Mudder doing? And I just wanted to touch on them briefly and kind of give you my thoughts. The biggest one is Coach and E-Rock were not at the event, and some people are upset on the community page. Mike Thompson had a post on it, and Chris Gorman also mentioned it. I'm sure they will be at Toughest LA this weekend, so let's wait until Phoenix and see if they're there, one of them are there, or the next event after Phoenix is Atlanta, and that's the toughest. I'm sure they'll be there also. I wouldn't freak out yet. I'm sure Tough Mudder will have them at their events. They know they're good. And they're in like every YouTube video they put out. There's Coach, there's E-Rock, and now Stephanie Bishop is also in a lot of those videos. So I'm not sure why they weren't there this weekend, but I think I wouldn't freak out about that just yet. There were some changes to the world's toughest bag check and multi-lapping. The bag check thing, it doesn't sound like it's coming back. That's a negative change, but I don't know if there's anything we can do about that. The multi-lapping, I think they know that we like to multi-lap. As the season goes on, the multi-lapping will become easier and more smooth. The third thing was start times were enforced. So you want to join a team and make sure your team is scheduled for as early as possible. When different team members sign up, whoever has the earliest time should start the team, and then you can get an early time. Another thing someone talked about was a lack of sponsor gear at the finish line, like the swag bags are kind of light. Other than those Old Spice body wash little travel things they had last year, I didn't use a single thing in those swag bags. The towels are just sitting in my closet. Everything else just gathered dust in the bag, the dirty bag, until I threw it away like a week later when I cleaned my gear. So I guess that's more of a personal opinion thing. Your mileage will vary, but I'm not going to freak out about the swag bags. Another thing that was mentioned was they did not sing the national anthem or have 10 seconds of silence before the first wave. You know, I've been to waves where it just got forgotten, or they were rushing to get the people out, or, you know, someone distracted Sean during his talk and he sent us out without it. So I don't think that was I think it was probably an oversight, but I don't think it was intentional. I don't think they're planning to forget the national anthem from now on. But again, time will tell. This is just the first event of the year. Tough Mudder's got it figured out. They know what they're doing, and they'll have it right by LA or Phoenix at the latest. Last thing, Ryan Cray posted that his body has broken out in pimples since Tough Mudder New Orleans. And he's wondering if anybody else had the same problem. And a ton of people are talking about all these bug bites or fire ant bites, or I don't know what kind of bites they are or things, but I've never had that happen at an event. So yeah, you can keep that in New Orleans. No thanks. Hey, so after we talk to Kailey Brodhacker and Mark James, stay tuned for the very end of the episode. There's a special present from Sean Corvelle. Let's talk to Kailey and Mark. Kailey Brodhacker, thanks for taking the time.
Hey, thanks for having me, Will.
Congratulations. You got third place at the first Tougher Mudder ever.
I did. It was a big surprise. When I crossed the finish line, a couple of people were like, hey, you placed. You got third place. And I was like, no, that was the girl in front of me, which was actually Nikki. I can't remember her last name, but she's an awesome girl. We actually got to talk on course after we did our second lap. So they came over, and I talked to one of the HQ guys, and he said, yeah, you got third place. You still have your wristband because you couldn't fail any obstacles whatsoever on the course. And they're like, yeah, you got third place. So we would like to get a picture with you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But I need to go get my second lap in. And so then we took off, and Nikki had already took off ahead of me to get her second lap on. And a girl named Theresa was the first place winner. And I think she went back on to do a second lap on that course.
That's cool. So were you the fourth place finisher, but a girl in front of you lost her wristband?
Yep, that's true. She was a tiny little sprocket that came out of nowhere. And I bumped into her at the pyramid scheme. Mm-hmm. I was in the water, and I looked at her, and I was like, wow, you're barely out of that water. It was up to her neck because she was so short, and she was adorable, so I'll remember her forever. And we get up onto the pyramid scheme, and she goes, hey, you're putting your hand in ants. And I looked down, I was like, oh, yeah, oh, red ants. Oh, my gosh. So I grabbed the rope, and she's short, so she couldn't really jump up to get to there. So I stuck my foot down for her, and I was like, here, grab my foot. And she goes, oh, thank you. So she climbs up, and then she's gone. By the time I get up and across and top, she's gone. She's so fast. And I'm like, man, I hope she didn't get in a podium placement, because I just helped her, and she just took off, that little Spitfire. Yeah. So I thought, oh, it's not a big deal. There's so many people ahead of me. It's not a big deal. So we continued to run, and I never saw her again. And then once I crossed the finish line, they were like, hey, there's 4 girls in front of you, but she lost her wristband.
Oh, okay. You've run other competitive OCRs before, right?
Yep, I've run plenty of Spartans. I've ran Rugged Maniac. I got to tap on the Battle Frog before it decided to retire.
Sure.
I have run a local race that they had here There was one close to my community. There's actually two, one within my community and then one across the river in Illinois.
And you've run Tough Mudders also.
Run Tough Mudders, yes.
What was the difference between like a Spartan race and a competitive Tough Mudder, Tougher Mudder?
I try to talk people into doing OCRs all the time, and I get this question asked a lot. The biggest thing is Tough Mudders are so different than every other OCR that I've ever ran. The other OCRs are very selfish. It's you against you. It's you complete this obstacle, and if you don't, you're at least going to get something out of it. For example, the Spartans, you get the burpees. If you don't complete something, it's, man, I got to work on like the spear throw, which, you know, you can practice all you want, and you're still going to get some burpees somewhere along the lines, but it's just tough.
Sure.
Tough Mudder is the difference because you're running with people. There's so many of them, and it's a community thing. For example, blockness. You could probably get over that by yourself, but you have to make eye contact and nod at people like, hey, I'm going to go up next. You got me? And so you're rolling these huge blocks, and it's just a community effort to get through these obstacles with pyramid scheme. The other, I can't remember what the white board is you run up.
Everest?
Everest, thank you. Yeah, that one. If I didn't have somebody at the top grabbing my hand, there was no way I would ever be able to make up that hill. But what is I feel good about Tough Mudders. They make me feel awesome. It's not about me, and I love that.
Did any of that change with the competitive aspect of Tougher Mudder?
Not really, because I didn't walk into it like I would a Spartan. In Seattle last year, I got second place in not the elite, but the competitive wave of the Spartan sprint. And I still didn't go, okay, well, I'm going to get first. In this race, it wasn't about, oh, I'm going to get first. There was a couple of volunteers as I got closer, like at stage 5, who said, hey, you're close to the girl ahead of you. Go catch her. You're going to get second place or third place. And I thought, no, no, that's okay. I'm not that competitive. I wasn't geared toward it. And then after a while, I'm thinking about it, and I see her ahead of me. We had to carry ice bags to get to Arctic Enema, and we had to dump in our own ice, which was kind of sadistic, malicious, just horrible mind game. Sure. As I'm carrying this bag, and then I see it in the distance going, oh, this is what this is for. And so they make you dump it down the slide, and then you have to jump into where you just poured ice. So I start seeing her jog, and I thought, she's jogging, and she knows that I'm behind her, so I'm going to catch her. I'm going to get her. I'm targeting her, and I'm going to go catch her. Mm-hmm. I did not walk in.
Was that before you helped her or after you guys were helping each other?
I helped her on Mount Everest, and then one of her guys that she was with, she had 2 guys that she was running with. One of them came over and helped me off of Cliffhanger. I have an extreme fear of heights. I have been talked off of balls to the wall at least twice. One of the twins that I run with has climbed back up that thing to get my hand to get off of the bar, and he'll make eye contact with me and say, let go. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to let go. It's time. So that obstacle was terrifying for me, and he helped me get up, and then they took off, and then I helped my husband get up stage 5 as well.
So they helped you up Everest, and then you had to run them down again later.
Yeah.
I heard that Coach and E-Rock weren't there.
They were not there. The rumor that I heard was sponsorships. What they promote was not there, so they weren't unable to be there. But I do think they're going to be in LA though.
Was there any kind of a warm-up zone, or did they have a different warm-up guy?
When we started the front of the competitive heat for Tougher Mudder, we stood at the gate right where they were doing the announcements, and he said, warm up yourself, which all of us are legionnaires. We kind of know what we're doing. So the front of the group started to do the hip swing that Coach does. And so, oh, we got this. We know exactly what we're supposed to do. So we're swinging our hips around, and then we get into it. And then, of course, the arms go up, and some of the other people were just kind of staring at us that hadn't actually been to a Coach Tough Mudder. So they were just kind of coming along with us.
Right.
The host did make us do, I think, a total of maybe 20 push-ups that was really nice of him. So we were basically stacked on top of each other in the zone as he's starting to do his announcements. And he says, okay, we're gonna chant this, and then down for push-ups. Give me 5 push-ups. Give me 10. Give me 20. And then he sent us out the gate.
How many people were in the tougher Mutter wave?
That is a really good question. It was full. I know it was full. I don't know the actual stats because my Athlinks won't update to show how many people were overall in that heat.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know because I just haven't seen any of the numbers. But it was a lot.
It was co-ed?
It was co-ed.
Were there any special markings on course for tougher? Like,
yes.
You got to do this, do that?
Uh-huh. There were, the mud crawl that you had to crawl underneath. For that specific one, for tougher mutter, you had to go down, and then you had to turn around and come right back out the way you came in. And the way they had created that dip, or they dug it out, there are sticks and trees and roots and logs. I can't tell you how many large logs I threw out of some of the pits because they were just in the way. One of the logs, very stuck in the mud, almost depanced me in that mudslide. Kiss of mud. Uh-huh. Is what it's called. And when we crawled out of that, and it was like, oh, I'm out. Oh, you got to go back around. Oh, okay. We had to carry a tire through the woods, which we didn't on lap 2. That wasn't a thing. They were just kind of sitting there off to the side. So they said, here, grab a tire, and then just run this way. Uh-huh. When we're running through the woods, Devil's Beard was in the woods, very tight knit down, and there were 2 layers of Devil's Beard, and you had to take that tire that you're holding, a regular car tire. We were on a racetrack, so I'm sure it was from some of the race cars over there. I saw a Ferrari, a Porsche hanging out, willing for somebody to drive it. And we had to roll those underneath Devil's Beard. And I've had mixed stories from that, saying, oh, the tire made it a lot easier. Well, that's not the case for me. I had to back up using my rear end to get underneath and then kind of pull the tire towards me, and I lost it twice. But it was pretty nice. If you were smart and grabbed lighter tires, it was pretty easy. But if you didn't, it was pretty hard.
When you say there were 2 Devil's Beards, were there 2 nets on top of each other, or?
Yes, and it made it even tighter. Yep.
Yeah. Huh. I've never seen that.
Me neither.
Tell me about the ice for Arctic Enema.
The ice for Arctic Enema, as we ran up on it, of course, we're running a quarter of a mile. There's a pallet of ice, and it said grab a bag of ice and go down to the next obstacle. And it was just a regular 10-pound bag of ice. Mm-hmm. And you're running with it on your back. You had to climb up the little ladder. There are tubes. I think there were 3 set up, 3 to 4 tubes set up. And you dumped your ice down through the tube. And so you got to watch all of your ice go into the nice green barrel that you're going to be ready to dump into. And they have the truck there, of course, for refrigeration, and they're dumping in more ice for there. I think I scared some of the local volunteers because I'm very vocal when I get cold, and I was squealing and hyperventilating a little bit, but that's just me. I wasn't in any danger, but they were about to pull me out of it.
Oh, wow.
And they said, are you okay? And I said, yes, I'm fine. Perfect, thank you. And there was a chicken wire fence that went down, and then you had to go underneath. The water in this was not very deep. I was thinking, from what I'm used to, you kind of submerge into it. It's up to your belly button or chest. This one, if I stood up, it was at my waist. It wasn't very deep at all, but it was still shockingly cold.
Did they send you down head first on the tubes, or could you go feet first?
They did not. We expected to be told to go head first. The guy that was on top, he said, go feet first. So we were like, okay, yeah, fine. It's different than the one that they had last year because you had the grate above you as you started to slide down. Yeah. So you had something right at your face. With the tube, it was a little less intimidating, and I feel like it would be better to go head first. I didn't second time around go head first. I went feet first again because I knew how shallow it was. But I think head first is not going to be as big of an issue that some people were making it.
So you like the tube better than the chain link fence?
Yes, very much.
Oh, man, I disagree. Oh, man.
How much hair do you have?
Oh, enough. Well, like on my head? On my head, I'm bald as a...
On your head. You're bald? Okay, some of us with long hair, I always think, I'm going to get stuck, and then my hair is going to get stuck, and the person's going to come down on top of me, and they're going to pull my hair out. That's what I think of. So the black inner tubes aren't as intimidating. The inner tubes lead into the water. They're not submerged. Does that help? But I'm sure some of them will probably be submerged.
How did they do the timing chip?
The timing chip was on this very cool vinyl bracelet. And I still have it. They said you can keep it, and I'm really happy about it because it looks really awesome. It's kind of like the rubber band bracelets that they give you for Tough or Mudder, and this one says Perfect 10, and this is the band that you either got to keep if you completed all the obstacles for Tough or Mudder, or you got it cut off or taken away from you. The band for the chip goes on your wrist, and it's very, very comfortable. I barely even noticed it. When we went to dinner after Saturday, my husband made fun of me, and he's like, "Are you still wearing your timing chip?" I looked down and, oh my gosh, I am. I didn't even notice I still had it on. It was just that comfortable.
So the timing chip is built into the Perfect 10 wristband?
Not that wristband. It's a separate wristband.
Okay.
And it has a timing chip built into it, where I was kind of messing with it to see if I could get it out so that I wouldn't have this piece of metal, so that I could wear it at a different time.
Sure.
But I haven't messed with it enough. I think I can get the chip out and still have that bracelet.
How did they judge obstacle completion? Were there Tough Mudder employees at each obstacle, or were there volunteers?
There were volunteers, none which I saw. There was maybe just a few in the orange shirts. I saw a lot of red shirts everywhere. I didn't stop to really look at them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. They were watching. I failed Funky Monkey once, and I was able to go back and try again without losing my bracelet, because then I completed it.
Sure.
There was this tall gentleman that I'd met, and he was actually friends with Nikki, the second place winner, named Kemper. And he was kind of coaching me through it. When he saw me fall, he had just completed it. And then I came around, did it again because I knew I could get it, because it was a lot of fun. And he was coaching me through how to swing, which I did nothing that he said. All of his advice was really good. Like swing around, grab under bicep on the first ring, swing around, swing once through you're going to use your momentum to swing down to grab the next. I swung twice on every single circle on the wheel thing. And then there was a bar at the very end where I think at World's Toughest, there was a smaller ring that you had to grab.
Yeah.
Then it was a fireman's pole that I had to grab. And that kind of shocked me because I didn't look at that ahead of time, and that's what kind of distracted me to fall. So I made it super close, and then I was like, oh, okay, fireman, so I got this. So Kemper kind of talked me through it, even though I was sort of kind of listening.
Did they send you through the regular or the Legionnaire obstacles?
I had asked, I had watched people having question and answers on this, and I didn't think it applied to me because I was like, I don't care, because I'm not going to be competitive. But somebody asked, and I think Sharkbait covered it, or at least it was on one of her live feeds. Mm-hmm. Can you do Kong or can you do electroshock therapy to still keep your wristband? And I believe that I heard you can keep it with your wristband if you just take the hits and go through electroshock therapy.
Sure.
We asked one of the volunteers as we got closer to the end, because I'm very intimidated by heights, and I was willing to play on Kong, but I just did not have enough faith to be able to complete that because of my extreme fear. So I was like, well, I'll just take my other fear, electricity. So I'll do electroshock therapy, because the first time I did it, I snaked through it and didn't get shocked at all. Not so much the case this time. I tried to snake through it again, and I got nailed so hard on my rear end that I just kind of froze, and my calf cramped up a little bit, and my toes twinkled and twitched. And then I thought, I'm going to die. And then I thought, okay, I'm alive. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. And then I was out of it, and I was super happy. My husband ahead of me was trying to help encourage me to get through it, so he iron crossed it in front of me. I'm not doing that.
So you could have done Kong as your final obstacle if you wanted to?
Yes, you could have done that. but I chose to do electroshock therapy because I can't fail that unless I'm drowning.
Sure. I heard that they did not have the Tougher Mudder headbands.
They don't. They were very clear a long time ago that they were going to mail those out to us. Even HQ was very adamant, even though I didn't ask. He said, we're going to mail you this. We're going to do this. I still don't even really know what I won other than a photo opportunity with some awesome athletes. And I'm totally cool sleeping at night with that. There's
a little cash prize, isn't there?
Yeah, it's what they told me. Somebody was comparing it to the Spartan cash prizes, but it's like 500, 250, and 150. Mm-hmm. And it's fine with me. I don't care.
So they're going to mail you the check too, I guess?
I did fill out tax forms, so I think so.
Well, anything else you want to talk about for Tougher Mudder?
I think this is going to be a really good step for Tough Mudder. At first, the first moment I ever heard about competitive Tough Mudders, I thought, oh, this is going to ruin it. You're going to have these elitist athletes coming in here, kind of the same feel of the other races that shall not be named, just because of the attitude, the selfishness that goes through it. I'm the best, I'm going to win. That kind of attitude, I thought this is going to kill that. Mm-hmm. It didn't. There's help on the course. Even the girl that got second place, Nikki, her team helped me twice. And even though it was a competition and we kind of knew that we were in the lead, but didn't really listen and didn't believe the people that were telling us, they still ran as hard as they could, did the best they could, but still stopped and helped us, which is, in my opinion, Tough Mudder creed.
Kailey Brodhacker, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Will.
Mark James, thanks for taking the time.
Certainly.
You were at the very first Tougher Mudder in New Orleans this weekend. What did you think of the course?
Well, I discovered in the first 5 minutes it was going to be a lot of high grass and mud bogs. It was really, actually very scenic. We had something I've never seen in a Tough Mudder before. There were actually either crocodiles or alligators or caimans, one of the three, and they're in the lake, and they were kind of watching us as we went by. And the locals that just told me that's usual. You know, they're out there. They're not going to harm you. They're going to mind their own business, but I've never seen it before.
How far were they from you when you were running?
Well, we ran basically around this lake, and they're maybe 10, 15 yards off the little dirt road path, and they're in the water. You just see that distinct form that you know from all the wildlife movies that I've seen that was not, a dolphin, which I'm used to here in San Diego, seeing dolphins, but it was an alligator or a crocodile. Someone's going to correct me. It's one of the two.
Sure. You've run regular Tough Mudders before.
I have. I've done, about 18 different venues. I got started a couple years ago, and I just went bonkers and tried to do a lot of the ones on the West Coast, and I ventured to the East Coast and did several in between. This is nice. I love it when I'm not on pavement. I love going through foresty, jungly areas that don't double back too many times. It was really well done, beautiful area.
What did you think about adding the competitive element of Tougher Mudder to the regular Tough Mudder? How did it change?
There's been a lot of talk and some complaints from the diehard Tough Mudder community. Tough Mudder has always been kind of like this very friendly atmosphere, not competitive. It's part of, this is not a race. And I see where Tough Mudder's going with it. I think it's great. They're trying to accommodate those that want to race and those that want to go multi-lap. And so that would be like the toughest races with those 8-hour events. And that those just still want to have fun. And I think this venue accommodates all of those. I love to go as hard as I can on the first wave race. Yeah, I'm racing, but I'm also working with other faster people because you can't get over obstacles alone. And then what I usually do is I grab a bagel or something and I get back in line and I just take my time and I get out there and I meet new people and I spend 10, 15, 20 minutes on an obstacle and have more fun. That's what I did last Saturday. I think it's a great, and also there's some money up for grabs too. It's not much, but those people that are trying to do obstacle course racing, it kind of reminds me of a lot of the triathletes trying to make anything to make ends meet or pay for a new pair of shoes or a hat or clothes, food. So I liked it.
Were people still helping each other over obstacles, or was it more like super competitive? What was the feeling like at Everest?
Definitely. I mean, everything from going under Devil's Beard to going up Everest to there was still that camaraderie. I mean, it wasn't like we were cutthroat. I don't know how it was the top three out the front, but being in the number 5 to the number 10 position, we were definitely chatting. It wasn't like, okay, I've got mine, now you're on your own. Even on Mud Mile, helping each other over the little mud pits or waiting for another guy on the Block Ness Monster. Those things are hard to maneuver by yourself. So you either wait or you catch up and you work together. That's this big, I think, misconception about guys who are going off the front. They're just all about themselves. Well, you have to work together at Tough Mudder, whether you like it or not.
Was Block Ness Monster altered at all for the competitive heat, or was it a regular Block Ness Monster?
No. It was the same, that cube in the water that you have to spin and turn, and if you're lucky, you can kind of reach up. It wasn't a very fast-moving Block Ness. Like in the past, those things have just, you reach up and you try and climb over, and the thing just douses you back into the water, and you need people to kind of work with you. We had 3 people on the Block Ness Monster, and we managed to get all 3 of us over working together. The obstacles that were modified, and I can say this because I did the tougher and then the tough an hour later, were the obstacles like pyramid scheme. They had a rope hanging down. So you could get on the ledge and leap up, and you could grab a rope. And this is kind of how they did it at World's Toughest last November, which I competed in. And so you could scamper your way up. Well, when I came back 2 hours later, this is I wrote on my blog post, everyone was just completely covered in mud and gone were the ropes, and now everyone's trying to form those human pyramids.
Was Pyramid Scheme one long rope, or was it the short little ropes like we had at Worlds?
So it was 6 or 7 ropes, little half ropes. So basically you cross the water, you climb onto the ledge, and you still had to leap. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall, and I had to do a good leap. And I grabbed, there was a knot at the bottom of the rope. And then you could just kind of like shimmy up, walk while you were standing and pulling on the rope. And it just made it a lot easier than, the traditional way of having to build a human pyramid from hell to get over that thing.
I saw some videos of the mud. How was the mud this weekend?
It was the worst. I mean, when I say worst, I mean the best. It's called Tough Mudder for a reason, right? But if you look at some of the video, every little stream crossing was a swamp crossing. I saw at least a dozen people lose their shoes, and you cross a stream, and all of a sudden you're knee deep in mud, and then they pull their feet up, and gone is the shoe, and they're sitting there digging through and looking for their shoe. So that was great. Very, very, very challenging. I definitely slowed down the time, I thought, for myself at least.
How was Stage 5 Clinger as a competitive obstacle?
The best way to describe the Stage 5 Clinger was monkey bars that you could do either backwards or forwards, and then kind of another outside bar around the base of the woodwork, which you could grab and then either swing your leg up, or if you're capable to do a muscle up, that would get you up and over it. But I was just using any means possible to swing and grab and leap, and it was a bruiser. But it was dry. At least my hands are dry. It wasn't after an awful mudded event, fortunately. So I was able to negotiate it both times.
When you ran Tougher, did they make you do the Legionnaire version of it, or could you have chosen to do the first-timer version? No, you had to. The Tougher version, only one, you had to complete everything. They gave us these these black wristbands, and they said, hey, if you can't complete one of the obstacles, you can attempt it as many times as you want, which I later found out I could do on Kong. I had some problems with Kong. And you had to take the Tougher
version. Like you had to go to the stage 5 clinger. That was the harder version for sure. If you recall at Kong, when you got up there, you could reach the first ring by standing on the ledge. You could reach it, and then you could just do the swing. Well, when I got up there, I was surprised to see the first ring was about 5 feet. So it was a little unsettling, and I thought, okay, I'm going to have to leap for this. So the first time I leapt for it, I leapt, grabbed with both hands, and then surprisingly slipped right off of it, landed neck and back upside down on the airbag, and kind of like, I was all right. I got to regroup here. So I got down, got back up, and I fell 3 more times. I think 3 guys passed me in that 5 minutes. I had to kind of get my bearings and figure it out. And then finally on the 4th attempt, I reached, grabbed with both hands, held onto that thing for dear life, and then did the little monkey swing to swing to swing, which I'm more used to doing, like doing monkey bars.
Sure.
And then at the Tough Mudder, when I came back 3 hours later, they had moved the ring in, just like at Worlds, where you could just grab it right away and swing. Made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
When I was doing my 3 attempts, I saw to the far right was closer, and I started making my way there. And then they had like an official Tough Mudder person say, "Hey, are you in the elite wave?" And I'm like, "I guess so. Yeah, I am." He's like, "Okay, you can't do this one." I'm like, okay, that's fair.
If you had chosen to, could you have done electroshock instead of Kong?
Oh, I have a serious problem with electric shock. I mean, I'm one of these guys that I take a shock and I literally crumble down, go unconscious for like 3 seconds. I've had I had atrial fibrillation for a while, and they actually burned some areas in my heart where they actually shocked it. I don't know if that's it, or my mom says I was electrocuted when I was 2 years old. I stuck my fork in an electric socket or something. I come up with all these excuses, but every time, in fact, I went to England last year, and they had to pull me out of the electric eel, which is kind of like electric shock therapy, but you're swimming through a little lake, and I like convulsing, and so they pulled me out, and then I was fine. So it was an either or scenario. I came to Kong, I did it, and I was really grateful. I mean, if I had to do electric shock, I think I would have really belly crawled. I would have just stayed low to the ground and tried to avoid every one of those tentacles as possible. But sure. I think it's a wise choice. I mean, there's some people that have health conditions, and some people might say, "Oh, you're just being a wuss not doing electric shock." Well, at Worlds, I purposely skipped operation. I took the sandbag carry just because I don't do well with shock. I mean, put me in an ice bath, have me jump off a cliff, have me do anything else. I mean, I think if it was a mandatory obstacle, it would discourage a lot of people.
I read your race report on toughmuddersphere.blogspot.com.
Yes, brand new. I became a blogger 2 days ago. My wife is a writer. She's a poet, and she has a blog. And I've always kind of like kidded her about it until I was flying home yesterday. I live in San Diego, and the race course is in New Orleans. And I thought, I want to write about this. I did look creative writing as a kid in high school and in college, and I thought I'm going to write about this. So I wrote it all on my iPhone, and I came home, and I go, "Hey, honey, I want to put all this on my blog. Show me how to do this blog thing." And for the next 2.5 hours, she painstakingly helped me decipher my gibberish on my iPhone, transcribed it onto a blog, helped me pick a thing. There's no pictures on it. It's very, very plain. I promise I'll do better at it, but I hope to the rest of the season. I'm hoping to do all the toughest races. I'm calling it the 6-pack. There's 6 races, and I've signed up. I've paid for all of them. I'm going to go broke. It's all on the credit card, but I aim to write about each one and talk about it. It's the inaugural toughest, which is the 8-hour race, is next Saturday, or this Saturday now coming up in San Bernardino. I'm pretty excited about that. And I just want to get the word out and write about, it's my perspective, how I feel the course went. I'm going to do a little letter grade, which is kind of elementary. I gave Noah an A, wahoo, because I thought it was really well done. I mean, there were a couple little things that I missed from prior Tough Mudders, but I thought it was really well done.
Are you going to be at Worlds this year?
Yes. I have a it's not a bet. It's kind of a bragging rights competition. My buddy Whitney Tilson was the first 50-year-old to do 75 miles last year. He was my training buddy. And he gave me so much grief because I went 60, and I had a bad day. I fell apart in the first hour, had to really regroup. And so my goal is to go 75 or to beat him, or both. So I'm 50 as well. So my thing, I always tell people, I work with a bunch of Navy SEALs down here in San Diego, which I used to be a long, long time ago. And so they ask me, how'd you do? And I tell them, well, I won my age group. And I kind of go, yeah, I won the 50 and over age group. Like, wow, that's great. And I kind of like, I kind of mumble the part that I was the only 50-year-old in the first wave at Tougher last weekend. But anyway, I'll take credit where it's due, you know.
Mark, is there anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, so I'm a Tough Mudder ambassador. Millions of dollars they pay me. No, actually, it's really a title. I volunteered to do it. I sent them a goofy video of myself, and they have asked us ambassadors to be ambassadorial, you know, help out as much as we can, which I love to do, and then also recruit. So I'm always looking for new mudders, someone to try Tough Mudders for the first time. They gave us a code. It's brand 222, very easy to remember. And if you use this code, you can actually get 30% off of your first Tough Mudder race. And it does not apply to the toughest or the tougher, but 30% is probably, I don't know, about 20, $25. So I'm telling everyone, hey, use that code and have fun. It's so addicting. It really is a good time. So,
Mark James,
yeah.
Thanks much. Special thanks to Kailey Brodhacker and Mark James for appearing in this episode. Thanks a lot, you guys. Leave us a review on iTunes or shoot us an email at willhicks@gmail.com. Don't forget, more episodes coming this week as we lead up to Toughest LA. So get caught up. I'll see you this weekend. Thanks a lot, you guys.
This is Tough Mudder. I don't think anybody here is new. Everybody here has done Tough Mudder before, and you know what we're about. We are about camaraderie. We are about teamwork. We do look out for each other, even during the competitions. We've seen it doing our World Toughest Mudders, guys. Even our World Toughest Mudders, the people out there in it to win it, they look out for one another. I've seen Pac help people at different obstacles. I've seen all of our Ryan help people at obstacles. Anytime you come to an obstacle, some of them are going to be modified out here for you guys out here today. But don't worry, there'll be somebody to take care of you. There'll be volunteers there to answer any questions that you have. The idea, get through this one as fast as you can because you will be timed, guys. Show them your strength. Show them what I know about each and every one of you. Y'all are badasses, every single one of you. That's what you have in common. You're my badasses, boy. You're the people that get it done for me, man. Once again, I'm so proud to see you all in here. Beginning of the year to start this thing out. We get the Holy Grail t-shirts at the end of the year. Again, if you're not familiar with the Holy Grail thing, that means you got to complete 3 of those challenges. 1 is this Tougher Mudder. 2 would be the Toughest Mudder. If you're not familiar with that one, that's going to be our nighttime competitions, 8 hours of doing the courses. I think we have 5 of those this year, and I'm going to see y'all at every single one of them. I did get that assignment, so I'm looking forward to that. Not sure how I'm going to work that because I'm working the whole days on those, so I might be out there the whole 8 hours with you guys, but I'll probably be asleep when you run on the grounds. And then, of course, the 3rd of those challenge will be World Toughest Mudder at the end of the year. That's right, man. Once again, you know, we got some that are in it to win it, and then we got some of those that come and they just give us their best every year. They make it awesome. I've said it a zillion times, guys. Proud of y'all. I've been doing this since 2011. I've gotten to know a lot of you. I went to 4 weddings last year. Participated in 2 of them. I've visited people at their homes. I've visited people in their hospitals. I've gotten to know you guys over the media. You are awesome people. You're the ones, again, what I see you doing on this course, I see you doing out there in that community. Looking out for people. Being your best. Because that's what makes us all better. It is about your best. I've said it a zillion times. No one is better than your best, but your best will make you better. That's going to make us all better. Believe me, that is true. So that's what I want to see today, y'all. Even if you're not in this to win it, do your best. It starts going that way. Today, your best is that way. Yes. And I'll see you at the finish line after that. So we all good? Are we a team hoorah? Hoorah! You're feeling good? Hoorah! Hoorah! Stand on up, guys. Warm it up for me right now. They just told me to double check, make sure you do, or you all do still have your wristbands, correct? Everybody's got it? Hold it up good. Now, we don't have a clock right here at the start, but the clock is at the finish line. Once again, if you lose that timing band, you are not going to be eligible, okay, for the prize. If you lose your 10 band, same thing, you're out of the prize thing. But complete the course anyway, you'll still be up for the Holy Grail. How you feeling in here, huh? Someone has wrote me a very special Tougher Mudder pledge. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. As a Tough Mudder, I pledge that. As a Tough Mudder, I pledge that. I understand this event is a race. I understand this event is a race. But not an excuse to be a selfish jerk. But not an excuse to be a selfish jerk. I will uphold the Tough Mudder values of teamwork and camaraderie. I will uphold the Tough Mudder values of teamwork and camaraderie. I will help my fellow competitors complete the course. I will help my fellow competitors complete the course. I will not whine. I will not whine. Losers whine. Losers whine. I recognize that in life the race is long. And in the end, only really with myself. Mudders, are you ready to go? You know which way your best is? This way. Oh, let's get ready. Going by my watch, we're going to count it down. Count with me now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there it is, our first of the year. Tough Mudders hitting out there. Show them how it's done, yo. Look out for one another. See you at the finish line.